Good morning, everybody. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Good morning, everybody. That's the spirit. It may be a little wet outside, but boy, are we sunny inside. We have two guest artists today. I get a very easy day as I just have to play the hymns, which of course you're all going to sing with a lusty and hearty voice. But I'm very pleased to welcome the two clarinetists from the Lake Chapala Orchestra, Suzanne Bullock and Daniel Estrada. Suzanne is no stranger to... Suzanne has performed here a number of times, and we're always grateful to have her play for us. And this is Daniel's first time. He's an excellent clarinetist, and we never knew he existed, but he lives in San Antonio, and how we didn't know about him before, but now he's a fully fledged member of the orchestra. And for the prelude, Suzanne and Danielle are going to play a movement from the Sonata for Two Clarinets by Poulenc. Poulenc, a French composer of the 20th century, was a cross between, when you hear this, it's a kind of cross between what I would call the late Romantic period from the late 1800s through into the 20th century, where kind of tonality was kind of breaking down a little bit. But this is a lovely movement from his Sonata for Two Clarinets. Suzanne Bullock and Daniel Estrada.
That was just lovely. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Robert Barnett, and I'm today's service associate. Kat Barnett will be presenting our message this morning. Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace where we come to not only create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken with imperfect jagged edge, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit neatly together, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty you find in one another create peace in the space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together. And so I just want to welcome you with, live from Fellowship Hall, it's our LCUUF Sunday service. Our announcements were on a slideshow before the service, and were also sent out with our weekly newsletter and other emails. So if you are new and would like to receive our newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the welcome team or write to us at info@lcuuf.org. And now a special welcome to our visitors. If you're visiting with us for the first time, or have returned or reconnected with us after a long absence, we invite you to say your name and tell us where you're from. If you're on Zoom, please introduce yourself on the chat box, and we'll read those messages out loud. We'll start with people in the room. Anybody new?
Todd Evans from Sonoma, California. Todd Evans, Sonoma, California.
Okay. Okay, do we have anybody on Zoom? Nope, okay. Okay, so welcome to all of our newcomers and visitors, both in person and on Zoom. In just a brief note, we offer a wide variety of services on various topics presented by our members, outside guests, as well as our minister, Reverend Matt Osbach. We hope you will return to sample this variety of thought and belief. Now let us light our chalices with these words that we sing together.
We kindle this light in celebration for the life that we share.
Our opening hymn this morning is number 360, Here We Have Gathered. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing. Each week, we take time to remind ourselves that we belong to a community which cares for each other. The sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones is one way that we practice holding one another in community. We speak briefly of what is in our hearts, sharing any significant joys or sorrows in our lives, because there is power in the sharing. We will start with the folks in the room to give those on Zoom a chance to type joys or sorrows into the chat to be read aloud. First, let us recall the joys. Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever invokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourselves or others. Are there any joys that people would like to share in the room?
Good morning, my name is Tim. I'm joyful that my good friend Todd Evans is here from my hometown, and not my hometown, but the town I came from in Sonoma. He's going to be here for a couple of weeks, and just delighted to have him visiting. So.
Hi, I'm Christy. Hello, everybody. You might have noticed I've been limping and having a lot of pain for the last few months. Well, I had a procedure on last Saturday where they inject your spine right in the right spot to relieve the pain. And I can walk again straight and without pain, and that is a tremendous blessing. Thank you.
Hi, I am Trish Farrell, and I am joyful that my daughter has finally completed her doctorate, and our family is now welcoming Dr. Rebecca Farrell de Gracias. Hallelujah.
Okay. Matt? Kathy?
I'm sorry, where?
No? Okay. All right. Do we have any joys submitted? Oh, over here on the right.
Did you raise your hand? Here you go.
I did. Then I put it down again because
I didn't see you.
you walked straight past me. I have a joy, and I went to the choir's concert yesterday. What's the name of the Voces del Lago, and this was the first concert the second concert that they had done, and I missed the first one. And people had kept telling me, "Oh, you must go and hear the choir. You must go and hear the choir." So I did, and I really was very, very impressed by the quality of singing of the chorus. And at least two people here were in the choir, Tim and Suzanne. And oh yeah, and Catherine and Eric. Anybody else? Did I miss them? But it really was a wonderful concert, and I went up to the conductor afterwards, Ken Turner, and I said, "You know, Ken, there's great potential here in the future for the choir and the orchestra to work together." And we both agreed that, you know, in due course, maybe sometime in the next 2 years, who knows, we may be able to do a performance of Sire. So my other joy, so congratulations to the choir. Yeah. And my second joy is, again, a musical one, that next Saturday, the orchestra is doing 2 concerts in one afternoon. I know many of you are coming and have already got tickets. It's just as well, because we are completely sold out. There's not a seat to be had for both performances. So those of you that are coming, enjoy an afternoon of French music.
I'll second that choir. Thank you all for singing. That was wonderful. I want to say it's so beautiful to look at our new decorations. I think I know who's behind them, but I don't know for sure. But thank you. And this is... Yay, Roy. He must have taken a break from dancing. Thank you. It's beautiful.
Are there any joys submitted by Zoom?
Oh, you need this one? Here it comes.
Hi, so we do have a joy from Joyce and Scott Kinney, who are very happy to be home in Mexico after 7 weeks on the road.
Now let us voice our sorrows. Whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts, are there any sorrows that people would like to share here in the room?
Hi, I'm Colleen. Just good thoughts for my friend Chris, who's having surgery tomorrow.
Do we have any sorrows to share on Zoom? No? Okay. And this candle from our care team represents the joys and sorrows we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We light this candle for all those unspoken joys and sorrows. Let us share a moment of silence to hold in our hearts both the sorrows and the joys that have been shared this morning. Today's reading is from Thich Nhat Hanh. Enlightenment. Thank you. Enlightenment for a wave in the ocean is the moment the wave realizes it is water. When we realize we are not separate, but a part of the huge ocean of everything, we become enlightened. We realize this through practice, and we remain awake and aware of this through more practice. If we take good care of ourselves, we help everyone. We stop being a source of suffering to the world, and we become a reservoir of joy and freshness. Here and there are people who know how to take care of themselves, who live joyfully and happily. They are our strongest support. Whatever they do for everyone. There are many ways to be of service to LCUUF. Our time, treasure, and talents are all necessary components to a healthy fellowship. Now's the time in our service when we ask you to show the gift of treasure through pledging and donations. Instructions for payments to the fellowship are on a slide during the announcements before the service every week. For the people here in the room, in the fellowship, we'll pass a basket. If you're new here today or you are struggling to hold things together, let the basket pass you by. Your presence is more than enough and is a gift to us. Each week, we give half of the money collected at the service, a minimum of 5,000 pesos and usually more, to an organization providing services to our lakeside community. During December, we are supporting Tapua Centro Comunitario. The Tapua neighborhood is situated on the hillside above downtown Chapala and is considered one of the poorest neighborhoods in the state of Jalisco. Their vision is to help a village to help itself, to create a place the poor of the village can go for food, counseling, guidance, and help of any kind. The offering will now generously be given and gratefully received. Okay. We are in the middle of our stewardship drive and our pledge season. During this time, we have different people speak briefly on why I pledge to support this LCUUF community. Let me invite today's speaker, Ilona de Borrego, to come up. I'm sorry, I meant to catch you before.
I'm not a teleprompter viewer. In fact, it's the very first time I ever see one. So I will try to do a combination of both. Main thing is I just want you to connect. Good morning. I'm Ilona de Borrego, and while this is my first year with UU, I feel very at home, as I've known some of you a long time. My reasons for pledging, therefore, are ones I hope you can all relate to as well. An ideal world would be one of only in-kind exchanges, with no worries of monetary devaluation from currency exchanges, taxes, import fees. If only we could still be raising barns and planting community gardens together, with everyone pitching in, that would be just the ideal. How nice to know that one's gift of a casserole, when needed, can be returned with a ride to the airport. However, cash talks, as they say, money, moolah, loudly. It can buy services and equipment, pay rent, and tell poor communities how much we care for their well-being. Giving is a full feel-good pursuit. By giving, we also receive feel-good rewards. What a great win-win giving is. This is my first official annual pledge to UU. I've been impressed by the generous amount that goes every month to community organizations helping throughout Lakeside. I've given regularly to this Sunday basket, but now even more so, the fellowship itself needs a lot of help. This coming year, there will be extra restraints on our UU budget. They will require more financial commitments from those of us who can afford to help. In particular, there will be rent to pay to St. Andrews Church and a possible further devalued dollar to peso value. So I'm going to pledge extra to help with these administrative expenses, as well as continue to give to the Sunday basket. By giving, I'm also thanking all of you for your friendships and the way that you care so much for our community through your volunteer work and dollars. Giving is good. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to start by talking about how your brain interacts with your body and what that means about your thoughts. The first thing I'd like you to remember is that your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. That doesn't mean that you think what you see in your imagination is real in your present moment. What it does mean is that your brain does many of the same things when you experience stress or happiness and when you are simply thinking about them. When you perceive a threat, your brain sends signals to your body. It produces certain hormones and sends signals to make physical changes to help you if you have to fight or run away. Your brain produces the same hormones and changes whether the threat is real or you are just thinking about it. Here's an example from Spanish psychologist Marian Rojas Estepe. You are in a theater watching a movie. The fire alarm goes off. You feel a jolt of adrenaline that your brain activated when you heard the alarm. Everyone in the theater stands up and looks for an exit. Everyone proceeds as fast as possible to the exit. You try not to run over anyone. There's no smoke or visible fire. You can get out. Everyone goes outside. Then someone comes out and tells you that it was a false alarm. There is no fire. You all go back inside and finish watching the movie, but you don't feel the same way you did before the fire alarm. It's hard to settle down and relax. Your body was flooded with adrenaline, your fight or flight response, and it takes time for that to dissipate and for your body to go back to a normal state. A month later, you go back to the same theater to see another movie. As soon as you enter the theater, you feel tense, on edge. This is left over from the threat you felt when the fire alarm went off a month ago. Going to the theater is not the same experience it was the last time you were there. If you perceive a threat, your brain sends signals to your body to prepare you. When there is a real threat, this works well for you. You get hormones and biological changes in your body that help you run away faster or fight harder, and that will make it more likely that you will live and not be killed by a tiger or die in a fire. This is what evolutionary history does inside your body. It happens every time you perceive any kind of threat, any time you feel fear. But those feelings don't always come from real threats. Feelings of fear can come from misguided or wrong perceptions. Anybody else ever do this? Or just thinking about a time when you felt fear. The changes in your body that are a consequence of those feelings affect your health and your longevity. If you habitually feel anxious or afraid, you are harming your health. Whenever you pay attention, whatever you pay attention to, anything you pay attention to, good or bad, the neural pathways for that are enlarged. It gets easier for you to think those thoughts or do the things that you habitually do. Studies suggest that if the stress hormone cortisol stays elevated for extended periods, it can suppress the immune system, making people more susceptible to infectious illnesses, autoimmune diseases, cancer, and to developing food allergies. The other side of your reactions to feeling fearful or threatened is what your brain does when you feel happy and relaxed. When you feel happy, your brain releases the hormones serotonin and dopamine. That happens when you complete a task. And it happens again when you draw a line through the task that you just completed on your to-do list. Dopamine helps you feel good and releases positive energy. You can activate those feelings and the associated changes in your body just by thinking about a time when you were happy. Unfortunately, it is much easier to remember times when you endured a painful experience or when you were afraid. This unbalanced ease of remembering bad things more often and giving them more weight is also a product of evolution. It's called the negativity bias. If you don't remember bad or scary things, you might die. When you don't remember good things, there is almost no consequence. There will be other opportunities to watch or give a good performance, enjoy an evening with friends, play with your children, etc. You won't die because you forgot some of those things. A few years ago, I saw a movie that included a counselor who invited her group to write about a time when they were happy. It sounded like a good exercise, so I tried it. I have now written several stories about times when I was happy in the past. At first, it was a little hard to think of a specific experience to write about. Not that I've not been happy. My life in general has been very happy. I've been blessed in many ways. Very little of this happened because of anything I did, but because of sheer luck. Where, when, and to whom I was born. So, why was it so hard to think of a specific instance when I was happy? I think because when we're engaged in activities we enjoy, we mostly don't stop to think, I am happy now. Those thoughts come later when we remember. So I wrote several little stories, and now when I read them over, they make me feel happy the way I felt then. It feels good. My body feels relaxed when I remember those times, and I don't have to have positive experiences to get that. All I have to do is think about the times when I was happy. No effort required. Can be done sitting down with your feet up. So, your homework assignment, should you choose to take up the challenge, is to write a story about a time when you're happy with as much detail as you can remember. Remember your assignment. There will be a test later. I've talked about what your brain does to your body based on what you're thinking. Let's go on. The way your brain habitually thinks is very important to your health, so it is worth your while to examine your habits of thinking and work on changing them if they are negative. Negative emotions, such as anger, fear, blame, guilt, and shame, shut down the regions of your brain that handle rational thinking, decision-making, memory, and objective evaluation. Blood flow to the prefrontal cortex is reduced by up to 80%. Starved of oxygen and nutrients, our brain's ability to think plummets. My son Chris once said to me, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future." He was probably quoting, but it's a valid thought. You may think there's not much you can do if you're depressed or anxious, but that isn't quite true. Live in the present. Here's a story about my own thinking. For a really long time, whenever I thought about anything that happened to me recently, my mind would often immediately jump to a similar experience where I had made a mistake or done something and I now feel bad about. Just zip, there I was, reliving the painful experience. Only for a few moments, but that experience might be as much as 50 years in the past now. I was unintentionally wiring my brain permanently to swoop to the unpleasant experience. That used to happen to me at least once every day. Over the past year, I began to be annoyed by my bad habit and came up with a visualization that has helped me not to do that quite so much. I will share that visualization with you now. Take a moment to get comfortable, relax your shoulders, make yourself comfortable in your chair. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. Now, think of a time in the past when you were embarrassed, disappointed, or afraid. Maybe you did something and someone else thought you were wrong to do that or to do it that way. Maybe you wanted something, like a job, and you didn't get it. Maybe someone snubbed you or criticized you. Now, imagine a lattice, like a trellis, for a vine to grow up. The lattice has many ribbons tied to it in bows. The ribbons are long, and the ends not tied to the trellis extend past the edge of your vision. Those ribbons are the slides that enable your mind to quickly slide down to that unpleasant memory. Untie one of the bows and let the ribbon fall away from the trellis. Now, that path for your mind to go easily to that painful memory is no longer there. Your mind does not have to slide quickly down to the memory. It's not so easy. If you want that memory, you will have to make an effort. Now, let's come back to the room. When I started doing this exercise, I imagined a lattice with hundreds of ribbons tied to it. I now do this visualization exercise every time my mind swoops down to a bad memory. Every time I do this visualization, I imagine that there is one less ribbon there after I untie one. These days, the lattice looks different. There are maybe a dozen ribbons still tied there. I hope to eventually stop doing that bad habit, and I can tell you that my mind does not do that nearly as often now. I feel better in general since I started this. I hope that if you tend to think often about painful experiences, that the exercise will be useful to you. Remember, everything you do often is enlarging the neural pathway for that, whatever it is. Okay. As I've been exploring the mind-body connection, I've been reading about how our bodies connect to others around us. Dawson Church is a scientist who explores these connections, looking to help people with health and mental problems. I think most of you know that moods are very contagious. If you are happy, the people around you are more likely to be happy. The same thing happens if you are sad or angry. the people around you are more likely to be sad or angry. What I didn't know was how this might happen. What's the mechanism for this? Church says we all have an electromagnetic field that extends 5 meters around our bodies. When a current is flowing through a cable, there is an electromagnetic field around it. These fields affect human beings in different ways. Similarly, human beings have nerves throughout their bodies, and electric signals travel along the nerve pathways, creating an electromagnetic field around us that is always interacting with the people and all the living things around us. Here is our connection to other people and to the universe. All living things have an electromagnetic field. Science is finding other species that use electromagnetic fields in different ways. We know bats use them to navigate and find food, sharks use them to hunt for food, and it appears that bees use them to detect how much pollen a flower might contain. So here are my thoughts about this. You create your personal reality. We all create personal reality. We all create reality together. But reality is what happens in the world. We have no power over that, right? I think that's not quite true. You might think you have no power, and indeed, what power you do have is limited to power over your own thoughts and actions. But when you have any intention for action in the world, you influence others. Just thinking about your own thoughts and actions will make the world a better place if that is your intention. Here's a story about the progress of science. In 1926, a psychiatrist, Hans Berger, invented a machine to measure brainwaves. It was the first electroencephalogram. He called it a brain mirror. He was mocked by the scientific community and told that he was measuring something else. He was forced into retirement from his job as a university professor. Later, he became depressed and committed suicide in 1941. Look out if you have a new idea. The scientific community's first response is to laugh at you. This is herd behavior, and it protects individuals. Scientists who have been successful do not want to think that their ideas might need updating. All of us behave this way. We don't like to look at ourselves. We don't like to think that our ideas and beliefs might need some adjustment. Now we know that Berger was right. We routinely measure brainwaves and have discovered that there are at least 5 different types of brainwaves with different frequencies that our brains emit when we are involved in different activities. Church has found that people who are involved in efforts to heal others without medical intervention all emit the same kinds of brainwaves. From indigenous shamans to Christian faith healers, no matter their background or tradition, when they are working on healing, this is Church's big thing, he is working on healing. When they are working on healing, they emit theta brainwaves, which are characteristic of light sleep, REM sleep, people under hypnosis, people in trances, and people in highly creative states. That information is from a study in 2012 that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Hypnosis. The conclusion I draw from all this is that 2 meditations that I do often when following my breath, I breathe in peace, I breathe out love, and when I breathe in, I calm my body, and when I breathe out, I smile. Those meditations and the ones you do may influence the world, or at least the people that are close around you. I could be wrong about that, but there is much to be discovered about meditation and about reality. Dawson Church is a scientist who is way out on the edge, but I am right out there with him, unsure about some of the things he believes, but believing some of the things that I've been reading in his book. At the very least, meditation, something I've done for the last regular meditation for the last 15 years, has helped me to think about my thoughts and how my thoughts and emotions push me around. All that practice and letting my thoughts go has helped me to be able to stop many of the emotional knee-jerk reactions. Not always. It may take me up to a few days to get over it if someone is unkind to me, but it doesn't always take that long. These days, if someone is unkind to me, I usually don't immediately get angry or feel hurt. I can take a few deep breaths and think about why the person might have done that and what my response should be. Maybe they are having trouble in their own lives because they are hurt themselves, and that is why they act in the way they do. So, we create reality together. Let's make it a good one. Many events happen in the world that are beyond our control, but we have control over our thoughts and our actions at all times. I think about Norbert Čapek, the founder of the UU Church in Czechoslovakia and creator of our flower ceremony, who was imprisoned and murdered in Dachau. I imagine that he and his fellow imprisoned clergy in the Priesterblock, where the clergy who opposed the regime were held, at least tried to keep their outlook positive, even though they knew what was coming. Success comes from within. Success and happiness come from inside, from how you feel about yourself and how you react to what happens in your life and to how you relate to others. If you can find a way to freedom from even some of the negative thoughts, it is easier to be happy. And everyone around you is happier when you are happy. Now, can someone tell me what your homework today is? Remember, I said there would be a test? Anybody remember? What is it?
Remembering a happy event in our life and writing a story about it so it's easy to recall.
Right, with as much detail as you can remember, which helps you to remember it. Our closing hymn is number 352, Find a Stillness. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing. Today, I have spoken about how to change your thinking and how you connect to others around you. I believe that everyone has access to everything that has happened in our world over the years of evolution of life here on Earth. All of those shapes, forms, ideas, emotions, ways of being in community, ways of being in the world are available to you. And if you imagine something brand new, you can do that and add to it. You can access all of that and create the reality that we all want. May it be so.
Let us extinguish our chalices with these words which we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world.
And so we come to our postlude, and this is going to be some Celtic songs. I'm sure you will all recognize them, and I'd like to thank Suzanne Bullock and Daniel Estrada for being with us this afternoon, or this morning. And here they are in a collection of 3 Celtic tunes.
But they're not the same. So this one's in A, and this one's in B flat. So if we play them together, it will be too loosening.
worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose. This concludes our service for today.